Greetings LEGO and D&D nerds, my name is Ian and today we're going to talk about customizing LEGO Minifigs based on D&D character art. Now, LEGO Minifigs are famously already very customizable, that's kind of their whole thing. But there's a lot of customization you can do on top of just swapping heads and torsos and legs. Today I'm going to be remaking a set of minifigs that I made a long time ago. I'm going to show off some techniques I used like paper and stickers and Sharpie to add extra layers of customization to characters. And we're going to be doing all of this in honor of the Oxventure Guild. Now, if you are unfamiliar with the Oxventure, I encourage you to pause this video, type that into the YouTube search bar, and go and binge their whole actual play show. The Oxventure is just a great, lighthearted, actual play D&D campaign, and this show is half the reason that I started playing D&D at all. So in honor of their first campaign wrapping up and them starting a brand new adventure, I want to remake some LEGO minifigs I made of their characters from the first campaign. I actually made these minis before I even started playing my own campaign, which is kind of what got the gears turning and started me on my LEGO D&D adventure. So here are my original figures that I built of the Oxventure gang. We've got Prudence, the Tiefling Warlock, Corazon the Pirate, Dob the Half-Orc Bard, Merylwyn the Wood Elf Druid, and Egbert the Dragonborn Paladin. I even made a mini of Johnny the DM since Johnny was included in the character art for the first round. Now these minis were all based on this character art that they used throughout the first campaign, and there was a switch a few episodes in from this version of the art to this version of the art. So I want to try to capture some of the other designs in this new round of figures, or just improve on things that I feel I could have done better with last time. Now let's begin with Prudence, the Tiefling Warlock. This is my mini for Prudence. We can compare here to the official artwork. Now, I actually based this minifig accidentally on the character design from the second round of art, not the first round. And although I do love this design a lot, I want to try to capture some of the look from the first design. So that's what we're going to be doing with this redesigned character. Now first, I just want to talk a little bit about the old one here. Her legs and torso are from a Dumbledore minifig. Her face and hands are from MJ in one of the Spider-Man Homecoming sets, and the other elements are more customized. This overcoat that I've given her is made from some loosely fibered purple fabric, and this tail is actually made from one of these antenna pieces. I snipped it to the size I wanted, and then I used some flat pliers to crush the ends. This end is just crushed flatter to kind of pinch in between the torso and the legs, which is how I attach it. And this end was crushed, and then I filed it into a point, and I colored the whole thing with a copper Sharpie. Since then, I have acquired some of these official LEGO mouse tail pieces, and it matches her skin tone fairly well, so we're going to go ahead and use one of these this time, instead of using this kind of bulky tail that leaves this weird crack in her stomach. As for her hair, I am pretty proud of how this piece turned out. I simply took some LEGO horns and I heated them to put this bend in them. I filed a flat edge and super glued them onto this hair piece, and I added some horn jewelry here just by taking some thin jewelry wire and wrapping it around the horns. Now, as much as I like this hair piece that I made, I really don't think it captures the essence of Prudence's hairstyle in this character art, and especially not in the other character art, which is the one we're going to be going off of. She doesn't have bangs, and I feel like the bangs are kind of a feature of this hair. So while we will be remaking a new tiefling hairpiece, I will certainly keep this around and use it for other tieflings in my campaign. I also want to show off her two grimoires that I made, Frisky and the Darkness. I just made these with the book pieces that open up and several of these white clip pieces that had broken. These are the older style, and sometimes older white pieces get brittle. These ones did, and they all are missing a tooth, so I thought I would use that opportunity to use them as the grimoire fangs. I put a little hot glue into the stud to hold them in place. They did stay just fine, kind of friction fit when I closed the book, as long as they were sitting still, but whenever you moved them, they fell out, so I just put a little hot glue in there to keep things a bit more secure. These guys will remain unchanged for the new design, but I want to go ahead and get started on new Prudence. We're going to be using this torso that came with the Red Dragon's Keep set. It's the Halfling's torso, and it looks quite a lot like the armor that Prudence is wearing in the character art. It even has the same color sleeves. However, I don't love this sort of brooch or circle on the front and this large belt buckle, so what we're going to do instead is use the back print. We are living in a golden age of Lego back prints looking just as good as the front print sometimes, and it doubles your customization options if you keep in mind that you can just flip the arms around and get a second torso option out of a lot of pieces. Many of the new D&D CMFs have amazing back prints that will work just as well as a front print, so it's a trick I use all the time, and I'll be using a few times in the making of these figures. All we have to do is pop the arms off and flip them around so that the elbows are facing the correct direction, and our back print becomes our front print. I'll go ahead and put her hands and her head on, and for her legs I'm going to go with these ones, which I believe are a Ninjago piece, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm using them because I like the silver on the boots and near the knees here. I think it kind of invokes the armor she's wearing, but I do want to add the sort of skirt thing she has going on here. In order to do that, I've taken a piece of the same purple fabric I used the last time because I still had some, and I've cut this skirt piece. I used this metallic silver Sharpie to carefully add a silvered edge to it and a few dots on the corners here. And these armored looking triangles I made by taking some sticker paper, coloring on it with the same Sharpie, and cutting out the triangles. This piece will wrap around the legs just like this, and I cut it just big enough so that it can be pinched in between the torso and the legs. I also have this piece that goes down the front. As you can kind of see from the art, this is just a tan piece of cardstock paper cut to the right shape with another sticker sheet triangle on it. I'm gonna just hold this in place, balance that there for a second, and then if I can get the tail, that'll kind of hold it in place while I get the torso on. I'm going to take a little bit more of this sticker paper and try to add the sort of shoulder armor she's got going on here. So I'll pop the arms back off to make this a little easier on myself. And I've already started cutting the sticker to the right shape. I'll just snip out these triangles. And then I'm going to line up the top of the arm with the top of the triangle like this, and then where we have some overhang here, I'm just going to trim it off just like that. I'll reconnect these arms. Now for her hair this time, I'm going to use this Lego Friends hair piece. I think the style looks a lot more like what she is actually wearing in the character art, but I'm going to need to affix brand new horns to it. Now, in order to make the horns, I need to use the older style of this horn piece that are in a hard plastic. A lot of the newer ones are in a soft rubbery plastic, and that won't really hold its shape after heating like this ABS plastic will. Now, I'm just going to grab a cylinder piece to help hold this to get my fingers a little bit further from the fire, but it's not going to be an important piece just in case I mess this up. I'm going to be using this torch lighter as my heat source. Now, obviously be very careful doing this. This is, fire. Be responsible with fire. What I want to do is I want to pass the horn through the flame enough to soften it that I can just bend the tip back the opposite direction. I don't want to apply too much direct heat, otherwise the plastic will start to bubble and at some point it will just straight up burn. So let's see if I can do this again without messing it up. Okay, I think that one looks pretty good. Let's swap it out for the other one. Alright, not my cleanest work, but it will do. I can smooth it off a little bit with a file here because I pinched the ends a little too sharp on these when they got too hot. And one more quick brush from the flame will take off any fuzzies from the filing. Now, in order to mount them flat, we're going to need to cut part of this horn off. So let's see, we want it to be angled so that this part hooks down. We want to cut diagonally across. By looking at the old hairpiece, you can kind of see what I did here where I made the cut. That is what we're trying to do again. I'm going to use snips like these to make the cut. And the same thing to this one. Now we're going to need to attach these horns with super glue, but before we do that, I'm going to use the silver Sharpie to get some silver on them, at least at the base, so I'm not trying to color around the hair because I just know that I'll get Sharpie on the hair. Now we just need a very small drop of super glue on each horn in order to attach them. So one little drop there. I will position it on the hairpiece and just hold it in place until it's dry. Super glue usually bonds pretty well to ABS plastic, so they're already seeming pretty solid. I am confident that I can go ahead and put silver on the rest of the tip without breaking them off. And there we go, some tiefling horns on new hair. We're going to go ahead and put this onto Prudence's head. I'm going to use the reverse print here, which has more of a scowl, and we'll attach her new hairpiece. We'll put an Eldritch Blast in her hand. And once we get Frisky and the Darkness back in here, this is our new Lego Prudence. Up next, I want to revamp Corazon de Baena. Now once again, I think I accidentally based this design off the second round of character art when I made it. So I'm going to go for the original look to kind of mix things up a bit. Although I am really proud of this figure, I like the hat that I made here. I glued this feather in place since this Pirates of the Caribbean hat did not have a socket for it. I added this sort of leather cord here, and I was even able to use a fine tip Sharpie to get his octopus tattoo to fit in the space where the skin shows on this Will Turner chest piece. Now for our new Corazon, we're going to be going after this art. So I had to make for him a custom overcoat. This is made from a piece of cardstock, which I wrapped around the figure's body and then cut to the right shape. I carefully colored the edge with a metallic gold Sharpie and then cut some fringe into the bottom because this coat is a little rough looking. We're going to give him some basic gray pants here. Now I know that they make a dual molded piece that has black on the bottom like his boots in this image, and I know that I have one, but I can't find it anywhere. So we're just going to color in the bottom half with some Sharpie here. I'm going to use a fine tip. I'm very carefully just going to make the bottom half of these legs black. Now that I've got the outline traced here, I'm going to color in the rest with a regular tip Sharpie because coloring in large spaces with a fine tip Sharpie absolutely sucks. There we go. Now we've accomplished the dual molded leg look. I'm going to attach this Dumbledore body piece. It's the same one that old Prudence had, but I think it captures the sort of formal essence of Corazon's undershirt. And we'll get his coat prepped. I have two black arms to go with it, but I also want to add the gold fringe around the sleeve. As you can see, I've done here. I've also managed to add this white frill. So I need to do the same thing to this arm. I'm going to take my gold metallic Sharpie, and I'm going to be using this giant chisel tip marker to do very fine detail work. Obviously, that's not ideal, but it's the one I have, so I'm just going to be very careful. And then I also want to put a little gold chevron right on the top of the shoulder here, because actual Lego epaulettes kind of look too big. I'm just going to put the hand loosely in to have something to hold it by, and I'm going to use just the very corner of this marker to try to add this little dash. We'll give that ink a second to dry, and I will now prepare this little paper sleeve poof that I've made. I made it by using this torn edge of some printer paper. I'm going to carefully tear out another rough circle, and then I'm going to use a pin, or in this case very sharp scissors, to poke a hole in the middle. I will now go ahead and attach these sleeves over the coat that I've made. And I'm going to trim down the sleeve on this side a little bit because it sticks out a bit further than the other one. So I'm just going to around the bottom. There we go, that's a little better. We'll go ahead and put this dark brown sword holder piece on and give him old Corazon's sword. And I will be reusing this Corazon head because it's the best one I have in a flesh tone that has a beard that matches kind of what Corazon's look is. I do, however, want to refresh the eye patch that I gave him because the ink's starting to wear a little bit. I'll go ahead and pop it on this brick to be able to hold it better. That looks a little better, and I would like to point out that the eye patch did switch sides between the two versions of character art, so it's just going to be on this side because that's where I'd already drawn it in. For the hair, I'm going to be using this pirate hat piece, but we don't want the little ponytail that we have going on here. So we're going to take our snips once again and snip it off right here. That was a pretty clean cut, and let me fit that up. We need a hat that has hair on it to cover the back print on the head. I think that will do the trick, but his hair is not blonde. So I will take a brown Sharpie and simply color it in. There we go. It's not the perfect hairdo for Corazon, but it does cover the back print and we got the pirate hat look going. So I think that turned out pretty good. Now let's take a look at Dob, our half-orc bard here. His head is actually a Lego Hulk head that I scratched the mouth off of just using an X-Acto knife and then carefully drew a little smile and tooth in with a fine tip Sharpie. And this hair I painted a little bit of green on in points to represent some sort of half-pointed ears. I like this head hair combo for him, so we're going to be reusing that, but I'm going to add a little more detail to the body. We're going to start with these legs that I believe are from Aragorn. They have sort of a dark brown on the sides and this gray in the center that is a lot less boring than these plain ones that I had on the old Dob. I'm also going to go with this puffier looking jacket piece. This old style one is just a little different. I think this will work better. I will still add an over the shoulder bag. And then I have this shoulder cape piece that I cut out of some green cardstock paper. Trifolds like this, like a Lego cape piece, and I punched out these holes just with a hole punch. This will go ahead and go over his shoulders here. And then I'm going to take one of these white fur pieces and push it down on top. It's going to be a snug fit with the paper there, but this really captures the look of his furry hood that he's got going on. We'll take the old Dob's head and add it to the mix, and we'll also need his hand. And now the loot that I gave him is actually a brick-built loot made from these two snowshoe pieces. I'm not sure why. I think I went with this design because at the time I only had one of these official loot pieces, but I have a couple now, and I think it's time we gave Dob proper loot. Now we'll take a look at Merylwen. We have a little mini cat here to represent Simon, who will of course be staying, and this I think was one of my favorites of the set. I still love how this figure holds up, but I'd like to try to capture some of the elements of the newer design of Merylwen. Her hairpiece here is an elf's hair that was originally this light blue color, and I painted brown. I still think this is the best hairpiece that I have for her, so we'll be keeping this hair and this head, but the rest we will be replacing. We will start with some dark green legs, and then I have two skirts that I have made for her, just like I did the Prudence one, but these are layered. We have a white layer on the bottom that is sort of frilled because I tore at it, and then we have this darker brown layer that's going to go over top. So these I will carefully wrap around the legs, and I will prepare to pinch them under the torso. For the torso, we're going to be using this barbarian torso, except we're using the back print. This is actually the front. We're going to be using some flesh tone arms and some gloves. I will put this torso on carefully, pinching the little skirts in place, and then we're going to be giving her several layers of cape. So we're going to start with this green cape, followed by this brown studded armor piece. I then have two little shoulder capes that I made from, again, the torn edge of white printer paper. I am going to put one over this shoulder, and I have another one to go over the other shoulder. And then over top of those, I'm going to put this green rubber, green arrow hood, and we'll use the face to pinch everything in place. Now, the newer character art version of Merylwen has a scar on her face, a scar that she got during one of the encounters in the campaign. So I'm going to be using this sort of pinkish shade of fine tip Sharpie, which I think will look like a healed scar. And I'm going to just put a little swipe on her cheek. There we go. I'll reintroduce her hair piece. We'll give her this new recurve style bow from the CMF era Kokra, and reintroduce Simon to her pedestal. And here is our new and improved Merylwen. Now we have Egbert. This is my least favorite of the set. I did my best with what I had to work with at the time, but Dragonborn were very difficult to make until quite recently. This is a brick arms Dragon Man head that I have colored gold with metallic Sharpie. It's a cool piece, I guess, but it's just not the vibe of Dragon Head that I am looking for in my Dragonborn. But fortunately, we now have a much better option. We're going to use the legs from the same barbarian figure we stole Merylwen's torso from. They have a little yellow showing here, but it will be far enough away from the rest of the body that it will kind of just blend in with the gold. For his torso, we're going to be using this Ron Weasley plaid sweater, and the back print is going to serve as our sort of tartan tunic thing that Egbert is wearing. I have added some red arms and golden hands. Then we're going to layer on a few cape pieces. This is a piece of paper that I cut. That'll be our first layer. And then we're going to put some of this studded shoulder armor. It's the same piece I used for Merylwen. This one was tan, but I colored it silver with the Sharpie, and that's going to go right on top of the black. And then on top of those, we're going to put this dark red cape. And then over the cape, I will add one of these backpack brackets to attach his shield later. And then, of course, the D&D CMF gold Dragonborn head is absolutely perfect for this. However, Egbert does not have long horns on the back, so I'm just going to not attach the horns at all. For the shield on his back, I want to use one of these Uruk-hai shields, but in order to get it to connect to this open back stud, I'm going to need to take one of these studs with a bar handle, slide it underneath the handle, and then I can clip the shield on like that. And from the front, it sticks up over his shoulder just the way I want it to. In order to make his mace, I'm going to take one of these brown bars, and I'm going to put a black stud with a hole through it, one of these Ninjago ninja stars in gold, and then sandwich that in with another black stud to make a pretty solid approximation of Egbert's mace. And I would say that is a much greater improvement over the old Egbert. And now that we have completed the entire Oxventure party, we have literally everyone else in the world. The Dungeon Master, Johnny Chiodini. Now, there was character art of Johnny in sort of a tavern outfit in the first round of character art here, which is why I made this figure, but I want to update it to look a little more like Johnny did towards the end of the campaign. We're going to start with some basic gray pants and the Aragorn shirt that matches the pants we gave Dob, and then we're going to take Sirius Black's hair and head. We'll attach the head, but Johnny wears glasses, and I do not have any heads in this skin tone that have a beard and also have glasses. In fact, this one doesn't have glasses either. This is a sticker that I put over the top of a Lego Thor face. This sticker design is simply a very basic minifig head with glasses that comes in the yellow flesh tone, except the skin was to match the pale human flesh tone instead of being yellow. I've just found this sticker online and I printed it out on some sticker paper, and then I carefully cut away the bottom half so that I would have just the glasses in the top half. We're going to reuse this sticker on Sirius Black's head and add Sirius Black's hair, and we have end of the Oxventure Guild's first campaign, Dungeon Master Johnny. And here is a wonderful group shot of the entire guild. I think these figures turned out really, really great. I love some of the improvements that I've made to them. And I know that I'm a little late to the party here. The second episode of the new Oxventure campaign is already aired, but I watched the first one. I can't wait for this campaign because I really love this group and I really love their characters. And I hope that you were able to take away some tips for custom character design for your own PCs or NPCs from this video. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below letting me know if you're also a fan of the Oxventure, or if you have an idea for a D&D monster I could build in a future episode of Brick Bestiary.